Well, we're so happy to have you on today with us. Of course, we love reading and we love passing books on to our kids, but this one's a really, really cool one because, Jack, after so many years of writing great books, and it's about time to do something really cool for the kids. And this is something that gosh, I'm excited for you guys to get out in the world for everyone to share with their kids.
Well, thank you. We're excited too.
Yeah. And did you feel like it was just about time? And how did you decide that this was the right next project for you?
Well, Miriam, it was really her idea. She took a training with me and she was on her way home and she wanted to basically share her experience in the training with her children. And she realized telling them that, a concept wasn't going to work. She really wanted to share it as a story. And let me let Miriam take it from here.
Yeah.
Miriam, your story.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So I was sitting at a training that Jack Canfield was teaching. It was called Breakthrough to Success. And I just kept thinking that week, there are so many great principles that he's teaching. I mean, it was just a wonderful week. And I just kept thinking, where would my life be had I learned these things when I was younger? I have 4 young children, or I had 4 young children at the time. So I wanted to get home and teach them a little bit of what I had just learned. But it wasn't going to work with mommy coming home and just telling them, you should do this, you should do that. So I thought I better write a story and entertain them while I'm teaching them this. So what I wanted to talk about was the idea that whenever we say, I can't do something, we limit ourselves and we stop ourselves from even trying it. So that's what the book is about. It's called I Can Believe in Myself. And it's the story of a little girl who has been chosen as the star of the day at school, which means that she has to get up in front of her class and talk about her show and tell. But she's so afraid. She keeps thinking, I can't speak in front of the class. So the story follows Molly as she figures out how to overcome that I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and getting up in front of the class or getting up in front of anybody is not easy, as Jack can tell you, right?
Yeah, no, there was actually research that shows the number 1 fear in America is fear of public speaking. Actually, the number 3 fear is fear of death, which says most people would rather die than get up in front of a group and share something. So basically, I think, the problem is we tend to put our attention on us as opposed to the people we're speaking to. If we have something valuable to say, as you do and as we do, then you really want to get that message out there. If you're worried about how they're going to react to it or they're going to judge you, then it's not such a great thing. So, but I know for me growing up, I was very shy. I didn't like to speak in front of groups. Here I am, I do it for a living now. And yet I had to overcome that fear. And I think Miriam and I talk about how you build self-confidence is surviving a risk. So if you try a little thing, maybe you speak to 5 people, then you speak to a class of 20, then you speak to a group of 100. I've spoken to literally 8,000 people in one audience. And, but if I'd had to do that on the first day, I'm not sure my mouth would have moved, so it's like little by little, we build our confidence. And it's true with anything, whether we're learning to hit a tennis ball, shoot a basketball, do math problems, whatever it is, we have to learn step by step by step. And then we build that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I love about this project is that, Miriam, you could tell us a little bit more. Pencils of Promise is something that that's going to benefit from this book.
Yes, yeah. Proceeds from I Can Believe in Myself are going towards Pencils of Promise. Our goal is to build a school in Guatemala with that, however long that takes, but that's something that's dear to my heart. I grew up part of my life in South America in Bolivia. So I have seen firsthand what it's like to not have and to, your parents to have to find the money to send you to school because it costs money there to go to school. So being able to first provide a school for kids that don't have it, that's really important to me.
Mm-hmm. And just like public speaking is really scary to people, so is writing. But you two have both managed to do something that's touched people. What advice would you give to kids, or maybe anybody that wants to tell their story or become an author?
Well, I'll start by talking about what my journey has been. And Miriam's now not only an author, but also publishing other people's children's books and teaching them how to write them. But for me, I teach what I call conversational writing, as if you're having a conversation. Like what would I say if I were sitting across the table from you, having a cup of coffee, talking about my work or what I know? I think too often people think when they write, it has to be something greater than their normal conversation. So if I know something that's valuable to you and I share it with you, and maybe I share a story from my own life, because I believe that stories are what Velcro information to your brain. With Chicken Soup for the Soul, we've now published, something like 2,100 stories, something like that. No, 21,000 stories actually. So it's 210 books on 100 stories. So what happens is that each story is maybe, 3 pages long, 5 pages long, but the story has a message in it. And we love stories. That's why we watch TV. That's why we read novels. That's why we go to movies. There's the middle, there's some challenge that you have to overcome, and then the hero overcomes it and you get a good ending at the end, or a lesson is learned if not. And so that's really what we used to do. We sat around the fire and we told stories. We sat on the front porch in rocking chairs and we told stories, and we shared our knowledge. We passed on the wisdom to the children and the grandchildren. And I think a book's no different than that. And obviously, if you want to write a novel, that's a little more challenging. I'm not a novel writer. But I think that for me, I just always wanted to tell the story the way I would tell it if I was telling it to you. And then the last thing I would say for me that I've learned is that, one of the big keys to success that I teach is feedback. So when we did Chicken Soup for the Soul, and when I did the book, the Success Principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be, we had at least 20 to 40 people read every story, read every chapter, and give us feedback saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this? And if it's not a 10, what would make it a 10? And so nothing less than a 9 got in a Chicken Soup for the Soul book. And many stories I wrote were rejected, by the public. So basically it was about, I wanted the reader to be happy, not for me to just feel like it was my ego was getting massaged. And it was that level of willingness to take in the feedback, rewrite it, add more information, whatever was needed, I think that led to the success of that series. And I think the same thing is true with what Miriam does. So Miriam, you can talk about how you started writing children's books, and then how you're teaching other people to do it, and you're a
Yes.
publisher yourself. It's amazing.
Yes.
Mhm.
So so I really believe that I share something. I share 3 tips to success when I go into schools and I read my books to children, and I share this with adults also because I think it works the same. The first thing is to really believe that you can do it, right? To believe and to say I can do it, because like I said earlier, when we say I can't, or we start doubting ourselves, then we let fear come in and we're not even going to attempt it. So that's the number one thing. And in schools I talk about wanting to do a cartwheel, my daughter wanting to do a cartwheel. Well, it wasn't until she finally said, okay, I can do it. She went for it. It didn't mean that she got her cartwheel done the first time, but at least she was attempting it. Same thing with writing books. It's the same thing. You have to first believe that you can do it and start doing it. Step 2 is to find somebody that has already done what you want to do and ask them for help. So for my daughter, she asked our babysitter who was over one night to give her some tips on doing her cartwheel. And for writing, you find a mentor, or if it's something else that you want to do, you find somebody that's already done it and ask them for help. I'm going to keep going because I think it's recording.
Keep going.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So then the step number 3 is to practice and practice until you can get it done. So in my daughter's case with the cartwheel, it wasn't the first time that she went to do a cartwheel that she landed it. It was 2 weeks later. It was 2 weeks of practicing and practicing until she saw success with it. It's the same thing for writing. It's not the first draft that's going to be your final draft, but that is your start to getting to the finish line, right? To get your book published. So I work with authors right now, with aspiring children's book authors who have a story that they want to share with the world. And I help them with, all of the steps to actually publishing their book. And then in the end, I have a publishing company, a hybrid publishing company that helps them do exactly that. So I feel that I have found my purpose in doing this. I continue to take courses with Jack, and this last one we did last weekend, he had us write our purpose again. And for me, what came up was that I use my leadership and creativity to help aspiring children's book authors put their work out in the world. So I feel so good about doing that.
So our host right here, Drew Pearson, is being honored by the governor today, and he's in Austin, and he's about to go in the Hall of Fame. And so on the Ultimate Hail Mary and Drew Pearson Live, we've always asked people their Hail Mary moment, the moment in their life or career where they just had to go for it and it worked out for them. And I'm so curious to know what that is for each of you.
Well, I think for me, there was actually 3 Hail Mary moments. One was when I moved from Massachusetts to California. I literally realized I wanted to get out to the state where all the people that were doing the work I was doing, human development, running large workshops and trainings. And so I sold a very successful business. I had a growth center where people would come for weekend retreats, and I had 12 acres of land and 1,200 acres forest behind me. And my wife was like, "What are we doing? You're crazy." And I moved out here. I didn't have a job, and I managed to find a way to make $3,000 a month while I wrote my first book and got on with it. And then the second time was when I was writing. Well, I was working, doing trainings, and I got this idea to do Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I had one staff person quit over it. He said, "I'm not working for a company whose president has written a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. We'll lose all of our corporate contracts, And I just did it anyway, obviously. And that worked out really, really, really well. And I think the third one for me was my divorce. It was like very, very painful. And here I am teaching success, and I can't even make a marriage work, kind of thing. But it wasn't working, and so it was time to get out. And so I was the one who decided to exit, and I lost all my money. My business was valued at like 13 million, and all of my assets were at 13 million. She got all the assets, and I got to keep my job, is the way I used to say it. And but I've rebuilt it. It took me about 5 years to do that. I was wearing the same shirt 5 days in a row, kind of thing, until I could get myself back up on my feet. But I would say the secret to my success, Paul, has been I've always followed my heart. I've just always, said, "Okay, I'm going for it." And just like Drew Pearson, it's worked out.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, Miriam?
Yes, for me, I'll share. Well, the 2 moments was the flight back from the first seminar that I went to where Jack was teaching, and just realizing that I needed to write my message in a story so that my children could be entertained and learn a little bit from that. So that was the first moment. And it was scary to first read the story to the kids. That wasn't as scary as to put myself out there, to start telling people that I was an author, that I had a book. That was a very scary moment for me. It's the fear of what will people think, the fear of rejection, all of that. But I would say the most recent moment that was important was about a year ago when I started mentoring aspiring authors. I started with a small group of 6, and now that group has grown and grown. But taking a leap, taking a chance on yourself. And I had been asked over the years so many times by people, "Can I pick your brain about writing children's books, about publishing? Can we go for coffee?" And my husband started telling me at one point, "Count how many times you go out in a month." And I was going out 5-6 times, just letting people pick my brain. I love talking to people. And so one day I just decided, no, I'm going to do it as a business. And that has been very rewarding, because I started off wanting to make a difference in children's lives with my books, and being able to help more authors do the same, we're able to impact even more children.
No, that's so amazing. And on a similar note, there's another show I'm on called Down to Business with JB and Jamie, and we talk about that success mindset that you have to put yourself in to stay on the right path. And what is it you tell yourself, or what is it that you keep in mind that keeps you on the right path?
Well, for me, and I think, and Miriam mentioned this, is I have a life purpose, which is to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. So every day I wake up and I ask myself, how can I do that? How can I serve more people more fully, helping them live their vision, whatever that is, their dream. And so everyone I've met, from little kids to adults, have dreams. I always ask people whether they're putting on my makeup in a TV studio, or if it's a, waitress at a restaurant, whatever, what's your biggest dream? They always have an answer. So I love being able to help people do that. And so that's basically my question to myself every day, I've learned, I'm 76, so I've learned over the years that I can handle anything that life throws at me. You know, everyone listening to this has survived everything that's ever happened to them, or they wouldn't be listening to this. So if you realize that, eventually you go, hey, I don't care. I'll try anything, because whatever shows up, whatever consequence it is, I'm going to survive it. And so then you just say, okay, what does I want to do? Who's already done it? What can I learn from them? Let's go do it. Respond to the feedback. Don't give up. Keep on persevering. And eventually you get to where you want to go.
Yes, and for me, I'll share that the things that keep me going. First of all, I don't need a lot of motivation right now because I feel like I'm living and doing the right things. But about a year and a half ago, what really got me going again was the thought of my own children, and it was a conversation I had with my then 13-year-old. That you know, our conversation went something like this. She said, "I don't want to have children," and I said, "Why do you say that?" And she said, "Because you have to give up on your dreams." And I asked her, "Well, why are you saying this? I mean, I've been in my mind, I'm writing all these books. I'm trying to teach you that you can do anything you want in your life." And she said to me, "Isn't that what you've done?" At that time, I was on a sabbatical and I was taking care of the kids. I wasn't working so much. So immediately what I did is I started that second part of my business in helping other people. So what motivates me also is knowing that I have 4 children that are watching everything that I'm doing. And I want to be that great example for all of them. But right now, the older 2 are girls. One is going off to university. And I feel like my time with them is being cut so short that I want to be that example that they see that you can be a successful woman and also raise a great family. So that's what's on my mind lately.
I love that. And I love that both of you guys are willing to help people and have programs to do that. So let's make sure we get a plug in for those too, where people can connect with you on those.
Sure. For me, you go to jackcanfield.com and all of my courses I train teachers and trainers and coaches and speakers to be people that can teach the success principles that I teach. You know, I have a book called The Success Principles, 67 Principles of Success. You can get that on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. And then we have courses and classes and online programs, coaching programs, mastermind groups, retreats, etc., that people can attend. And if you want to get a real quick starter, if you go to jackcanfield.com/transformation, you can download a course that we teach, and it's free. And what happens is every day for 10 days, you'll receive a new principle. And it's about a 3 to 5 minute video. It tells you how to apply it in your life that day so that you actually Velcro it into your brain by doing it. And literally one guy a couple years ago wrote an article for a magazine. He said, how a 10-day course turned me into a millionaire. And just by applying those 10 principles, he literally tripled his income in 1 year. So those are how you would reach me. And I'd love to have you come and play with us.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. And Miriam?
Yes, if you are interested in writing children's books, then I can certainly help with that. If you go to miriamlaundry.com, Miriam spelled Miriam, laundry, laundry.com/blueprint, you can get a free blueprint on how to write your story. So starting with, you know, what message you want to deliver with your story, and then, you know, going back to figuring out the problem of your story, the 3 different, you know, events that would happen for the child, the protagonist, to get to their solution. So it's a formula on how to write your children's book. There's, of course, a lot more information on the website about the courses that I offer and the mentorship. So if you want to write a children's book, go for it. I think children need books now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that this book is coming out right as we're getting back into the world, and it means a lot. There it is. I can, because we know that we can, and I know that you're not going to stop there. So before we let you go, let us know what else that you have coming up that we should look forward to, because I know you're always doing this like we are.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll share that.
Yeah, go ahead, Miriam.
Yeah, I was just going to share that our first book together is called The Big Bad Bully. In this book, follows the story of another little girl. It's a bully story with a twist in that I'm going to share the ending part of it because it's so important. In the end of the story, we realize that the person that has been bullying this little girl ever since she was little, now she's in the 6th grade, has been herself. And it's been her negative self-talk, and it's been her doubts, her fears, and it's just the way that she was speaking to herself. So it's really important for us as parents and teachers to talk to children about our own negative thoughts. So it's put into a cute story of the big bad bully, because kids know how bad it is to be a bully, but when they can see that sometimes they're doing that to themselves, it really has it makes that shift. And then of course in the book, Jack has added more self-esteem building exercises to both books that you can work through with your children or with your students, or kids can do on their own.
I love that. And Jack?
Pretty much the same thing. We're going to write a 3rd children's book together. We've got a number of choices that we're thinking about. So we actually sold a contract of 3 books to our publisher. So these are the first 2, The Big Bad Bully and I Can Believe in Myself. And as Miriam said, there's exercises in the back that you can do in the classroom or at the family. Just for example, you could do every night at dinner, ask your children, what's one thing you did today do you feel proud of? And all of a sudden you're building their self-esteem day by day in little ways. I'm also working on a book called Choose Love, Not Fear. And I think that's going to be one of my big magnus opuses of my life, because I think there's so much fear in the world right now. Both sides of the political aisle are playing off of that. We have a very divided country because of it. And I think a lot of people are not taking the risks they want to take because they're letting fear run their life. So keep an eye out for that as well, coming up soon to a theater near you in your neighborhood.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I absolutely love what both of you are doing and what you're doing together. And we really, really appreciate your time and hope to have you on again sometime soon. And congratulations on everything.
Thank you so much.